10 years ago, to this very day, a video game release that I don't think realistically needs any introduction on this channel. One that has changed my life completely and the lives of so many others surrounding it. And this game, upon its release, I can imagine not a lot of people, including myself, thought to this very day that it would not only still be full of life, but still climbing and climbing in popularity, becoming Paradox Interactive's most popular game. A game that I think is carried not only by its developers, but in my opinion, the community around it. One that is no doubt very passionate about it, I will add, but from all the modders that have created some of the most feature-rich mods that even have usurped the main game in so many ways, the people like myself that for the past 10 years have been making videos and entertaining millions, the game I'm talking about today is, of course, Hearts of Iron 4. And with my little video here today, I want to talk about not just about the video game Hearts of Iron 4, but most importantly, I want to talk about the community that surrounds it, the people that have kept this game alive in so many different ways, in my opinion. But first off, let's go back to 2016. So 10 years ago, in the great year that we're now in, of 2016, a video game is coming out. A sequel to Hearts of Iron 3. And Hearts of Iron 3 is very much not like Hearts of Iron 4. I can imagine in Hearts of Iron 4's development cycle, they looked at Hearts of Iron 3 and were like, how do we make this fun? And I imagine somebody in that development meeting went up to the whiteboard, saw the features of Hearts of Iron 3 written out, and just wiped them all out. Which does seem a little drastic in a way, because Hearts of Iron 4 came out, and I think it'd be barely recognizable for the majority of people to this day. I mean, I don't even think I need to. Here's Hearts of Iron 4 on release. Wow. Sure, it does look kind of similar, but some things are just a little bit off. There are so many things that have been added throughout the years to this game that made it good. If you were to just play it on release, I get it. It'd be pretty bad, which is also why Hearts of Iron 4 was a slow burn in its popularity. And I was one of those people, because 10 years ago, I would have been around 21 years old. Hoi 4 was just about to release, and I gave it a one-time game. I did one small video on it that's lost to time. I think I was playing Canada and I naval invaded the UK, and that was it. I didn't think too much about the game in terms of making videos on it past that point, but I made that video and I moved on. I didn't really think too much about Hoi 4. I think we used to have a few little meme multiplayer games here and there in my Discord at the time, and that was it until something happened. And that's the mods. You might think the first DLC really brought me back to Hoi 4 Together for Victory, but it wasn't. It was a little mod called the Great War mod. And the Great War mod, like its name suggests, is a World War I mod for Hearts of Iron 4. I do believe it's still up, but it has not been developed in many years for Hearts of Iron 4, and the mod developer that made it actually went on to make their own World War I game. But this little mod that released not too soon after Hoi 4's actual release is what brought me back to making a video. I think it got a big patch update around the time I decided to go back and make a video in around November or October of 2016. And honestly, it wasn't anything special, but I wanted to make a video on it. I didn't have any ideas at the time, and I thought I'd give it a whirl. And from that video, birthed something absolutely monstrous into the world. It's the iSorrowproductions YouTube channel, essentially. And it wasn't an overnight thing, not at first at least. I had made that video and it became a snowball. I kept making more and more Hoi 4 videos and they kept getting more and more views. Every time I would check my subscriber page over the holiday season of that year, it just kept going up. My subscribers went up by the thousands of points. The videos would just pop off every time. It was a very insane time for me. And it wasn't just the Great War mod that really kicked it off. It was a snowball effect, like I said, because guess what else was coming out around that time? Kaiserreich. Kaiserreich is the thing that carried my channel. Unironically, if Kaiserreich had not come out when it did at that time, I'm not entirely sure if the channel would have kept going with that snowball, like I said. Kaiserreich was the first alt history based mod that I think I can remember playing. It literally just asked the simple question of what if Germany won World War I? And whilst it wasn't the only mod that really kept carrying the channel at that point, some honorable mentions being Road to 56, Millennium Dawn, obviously the Lazy Town mod. Kaiserreich, I think, really laid the template to what Hoi 4 mods would become. It was with Kaiserreich that you got the first taste of alt history that really just tingled a lot of people's brains. To this day, if you ask people what you do in Hoi 4, a lot of people will just reply back, I just play mods. What mods? Kaiserreich. And I remember that, literally just sitting on my floor on my crappy laptop at the time, making these Kaiserreich videos, and every time I'd make one, the views would just keep going up, the subs would go up, and it was literally overnight that I was able to do YouTube full time. And that was 10 years ago. I'm still here, but it wasn't just me.
Texas, at this point, is a mostly uninhabited wilderness.
What is going on, guys? This here is Bacown.
So just before we start, can I just get you to say who you are?
Do I just start now?
Yeah, go.
Alright guys, hello. I am, I'm just gonna redo that already. There's not gonna be any outtakes in there, right? I'm Bocone 1.
This is College from That Guy from College.
Let's do this. I'm doing this out of the get-go. I haven't prepped anything. Let's do this.
So my first question is, how did you get started with Hoi? And what was your original reaction to things, let's just say, popping off?
So, I was a day one Hoi 4 player. Hell, to prepare for Hoi 4's launch, I bought Hoi 3 a few months prior, thinking playing it would make me ready for the game's release, and man, was I wrong.
Alright, so, wait, hold on. One more time. I need the...
As many takes as you want.
I did the question again. That has got out. What's the DLC called? Together for Victory? That was when I really started playing it for real. For real. Because I played Hoi 3 before that came out. Like, I went straight back and played that. And then when the Together for Victory came out, I started playing the game. I started doing multiplayer with my friends. I then saw a video called EU4 MP in a nutshell that some guy uploaded a couple years before I started playing this Hoi stuff. And I was like, I could do this, but for Hoi 4. And then I started making videos, and here we are today.
How did I get started with Hoi 4? When I was young, a teenager, I was, like probably most Hoi 4 consumers, a little bit weird in the sense that I was a little bit too much into war stuff. I would like World War II games, I like World War II movies. Me and my friends would get soft air guns and play war outside under the real sky. And I guess because of that notion of being such a warlike teen, I was really into strategy games, World War II strategy games, and then I remember Hearts of Iron 2 coming along. Me and my friends, we found Hearts of Iron 2, I fell in love with it, I played it all day.
After the initial launch enthusiasm wore off, I actually hated Hoi 4 for a while, and went back to playing Hoi 3, with the Black Ice mod even. I was kinda surprised that the Hoi 4 videos people were making at the time were popping off so much, because I thought the game was just complete rubbish and had no idea what people were seeing in it.
I saw that one day Hearts of Iron 3 came out, didn't pay much attention to it. One day I bought it, was excited to return to one of my favorite games of my childhood, Hearts of Iron, but Hearts of Iron 3 was, I'm sorry Paradox, but just terrible, just super soulless, and I really didn't like it. Till today I didn't understand the system, how the army is built up. Hearts of Iron 4 came along, and I remember I didn't believe in it much. I also didn't even play it in the first 6 months. I can see it on my Steam that I bought it 6 months after release, and I didn't believe in it much. I also remember this is way too long, right, ISP? Way too long, but you can cut this. You got this, man. But I fell instantly in love. It was such a big step forward from Hearts of Iron 3. When my videos will start to do well on YouTube, it was... I remember me and my good friend and editor Marconi I think we had imposter syndrome for 2 years. We didn't really believe in it. Oh, we're getting some views now, 10k, 20k. But we always felt, yeah, that's gonna die down. Nothing's gonna come from this. We're not gonna live off YouTube. It's not gonna happen. It's a nice thing.
The good old days, huh? You see, whilst I really think in my head there was a lot of people around back then in the content creation sphere that were realistically always about, I can only really think of a few that are still around to this day. And it really does remind me of those early days of Hoi 4 in a way. Whilst Hoi 4 came out and it was very mediocre, let's just say that, it was the people that were making the videos and the people that were making the mods that I think really drew the eye to this game. In fact, I remember back in like 2017, there would just be a new Hoi 4 mod, and then with that new Hoi 4 mod, there would be like 5 new videos on YouTube, and I'm assuming a lot of people feel the same way, where it was pretty damn hype. And whilst a lot of those mods probably aren't around anymore, a lot of them still are. In fact, there are more now. There are so many mods that I think there's every single alt history scenario has been made possible. Heck, the damn modders of this game have managed to expand the game way beyond its original scope, like Black Ice, to the creation of some narrative content with in-depth writing and storylines, and let's just say some very unique concepts. Equestria at war. I mean, heck, we've got a mod about what if Germany won World War I, but then we have a mod that asks the question of what if Germany lost World War I, but it was through the eyes of the people in the mod of the what if Germany won World War I mod. And what exactly is going on with Rise of Italia? I mean, we've got Minecraft mod. What about GTA mod? No? Half-Life 2 mod? Okay, you're definitely gonna like the 1984 mod if you don't like any of those. But there's so many of them. Like, there is so many Hoi 4 mods that have both come and they have gone. And I'm assuming even more that are currently in development and will be coming out at some point, that this, in my opinion, has to be one of the big things on why Hoi 4 is so popular. All of these talented people that are pushing the game to its absolute screaming limits at this point, because how exactly have TNO managed to put this in the game? But for me, if we're taking it back to 2016, there were 3 mods that really laid the foundations for Hoi 4 that I think without them would not make the game what it is today. And obviously, Kaiserreich, that's the #1 mod in my opinion that has absolutely survived the test of time and has its own fandom in its own regards that have kind of gone past Hoi 4 at this point. And then also I think it's kind of lost its place nowadays is Road to 56. A lot of people still swear by it, especially people who don't want to buy all the DLC, but back in the day, Road to 56 added simple things called focus trees to nations that didn't have them. If Road to 56 hadn't come out back in the day, a lot of the videos I made would not have been possible because there was no content for them. And like I said, whilst I no longer play it, I know it still gets thousands of people playing it because of course it fills the gap in content for a lot of people. And even so, they've got their own versions of focus trees that the DLCs give anyway that are probably some people say are better actually than the ones actually in the DLC. And that last mod of course has to be the Lazy Town mod. Okay, no, maybe not the Lazy Town mod, but I do think it bridged the gap between a lot of these early mods and what would become the main mods that come out nowadays that are way more in-depth, way more narrative, let's just say that, and that is TNO. Whilst TNO, in my opinion, is a bit on the end of what I'm talking about today, which is the beginning of Hearts of Iron 4 and what really made it popular, I do think it needs to be mentioned because it is what exactly a lot of Hoi 4 mods have become today. Whether or not you agree with TNO being on here, or whether or not you think it's bad nowadays, or it's, you know, it's got a terrible UI, which, does. It is stylistically, and what they tried to accomplish with that mod, what a lot of mods have gone on to try and do as well. But it really was those early days of Hearts of Iron 4 where those mods kept coming out and they kept bringing me back. I would have something new to do and make a video on every single day. I could reload that workshop and there would be something worthwhile to look at. Sometimes, maybe not always worthwhile to look at, but it was a pretty fun time to get into Hoi 4 back in 2016/2017. Hoi 4 mods. What is, in particular from back in the day, ones that stuck out for you and ones that, let's just say, were your first to look at and really think, damn, this is better than vanilla?
Okay, so I'm probably going to have some different answers than everybody else, but I'll start off by saying the obvious thing, which is Road to 56. Everybody back in the day, that was, I don't know if it still is, but back in the day, that was the bomb. That was like literally, I don't remember there being any other mods that anybody would always suggest other than Road to 56.
Kaiserreich was the real thing that changed it. When Kaiserreich was initially released in, I think, December 2016, and I played a small MP on that alpha version 0.1, I was like, wow.
I would guess the first iterations of Kaiserreich were already very impressive. But I gotta be honest, I don't remember the first 5 years, what the mods did and stuff. Sorry, I don't even remember how, like, multiplayer modding started, because the problem is always vanilla was very unstable. Often will just crash, desync, everybody knows these issues, and the community will start making mods to fix this a little bit. Fortunately though, I don't remember much.
However, for me, since I was a multiplayer guy, Road to 56 wasn't necessarily the greatest mod to me back then that changed everything, because it was heavily unbalanced for historical multiplayer games. So we, in my group of people, we found multiplayer mods that really changed the game for us. Probably mods that people have never heard about in today's voice sphere. The first one being Waltzing Matilda. I don't really know what it did, but it rebalanced the way combat worked and some focus trees and added a few things here and there. We played with this for a little bit, and then we ended up getting a mod called Operation Overhaul, I think.
TNO later on also was a big thing that I think permanently changed the community. For TNO, I think that showed the greater Hoi 4 community that there's more to just map painting and big encirclements. You can actually use the game to tell very interesting stories.
And now, a topic of dispute, you may say. It wouldn't be right to say that to play Hoi 4 in its entirety nowadays, you are going to have to sacrifice an arm, a leg, and maybe one of those kidneys. You see, Mr. DLC has come knocking on your door, and he's here to collect the limbs you owe him. Throughout the years, Hoi 4 has been kept alive by its developers by giving out free updates and, more importantly for the bank accounts, a lot of DLC. A lot of people like to claim that Hoi 4 would still be as popular as it is today if it didn't get all of these DLCs and updates, and I think while some of them could have definitely gone amiss, the game conveniently peaking at the release of every new DLC and then conveniently growing past it seems to show that I don't think it would keep growing if these DLCs weren't around. And it's not really the point of this video to hamper on about points that have been made in 500 different videos, especially by me already. But the question I do really want to pose is whether or not Hoi 4 would have reached these peaks if it hadn't got those DLCs. There was a point where I stopped playing Hoi 4 for an entire year back in like 2018. There was no Hoi 4 on this channel, and I came back to man the guns, and it felt like a breath of fresh air at the time. The game had finally got itself an update worthy of playing in my books. But again, it poses the question, would Hoi 4 still be where it is today if those DLCs didn't come out? Would I have ever returned if Man the Guns hadn't come out? And I guess really we can get an answer to this, because eventually Hoi 4 will end its development and the developers will move on to a sequel or something else, and the game may continue to have a player base. Would it still be growing though? Time's gonna tell. But just scrolling back through all of the Hoi 4 DLC that is released, I just have a great memory from every single one of them, and it does really bring me back to specific eras that we've had on the channel. I think overall one of my favorite Hoi 4 DLCs, and the one that peaks the game for me, was definitely No Step Back. I remember that DLC coming out and adding a focus tree to one of my favorite nations in the game, and it really felt like the first big DLC for the game. I think really from that point on, the DLCs that came out definitely felt like they were really trying to expand the game in terms of what you could do with focus trees specifically. Even if some directly after this DLC did fall completely flat into a big buggy messes. Looking at you, Italian DLC, that was a hell of a ride. And with all these buggy releases, broken features, DLCs that work, DLCs that don't work, updates that fail, and new features that people complain about and people love, it's all coming together as one complete package called Hoi 4. And again, just looking back at some of these DLCs that have come out, I just have a real soft spot in my heart for a lot of them. Even if they've been a terrible time, I could think of a video I've made on one of them that just really brings me back to a good old time. And it's not just me either. Are there any DLCs that really changed your mind on Hoi 4, or just made you think, damn, they've really upped the ante with this one?
Together for Victory changed with Lend-Lease and stuff like that, a bunch of mechanics, puppet systems and stuff like that. But I still think No Step Back in modern times is the most defining one, because it completely changes how combat works due to the supply system.
The first 2 years of Hoi 4 post-release development were kind of bleak, just a constant wondering of like, what are we even doing here? But that turned around with Waking the Tiger, where they finally got the game to a point where I was like, okay, we're getting somewhere with the addition of decision stability and war support.
The first thing coming to mind is, I think it was No Step Back, maybe? Correct me if I'm wrong, but to me personally, the biggest change ever a DLC brought is, drum rolls, supply hubs. When supply hubs came into the game, when railway connections came into the game, I truly believe that was the biggest change ever to Hoi 4. It fully changed how the game works, how you approach a war. Oh, I'm breaking through, I have a spearhead, but I don't have a supply hub, so my supply is now dying. The fight for railways, the fight for supply. How often would you, like in multiplayer games, get stuck because you have red supply, you really beat your enemy, you have CAS, you have green air, you have heavy tanks, but ooh, you have no supply.
I think Hoi 4 really hit its stride after No Step Back. That's when I felt like the game was truly feature complete and an altogether better experience than its predecessor.
That's been some frustrating DLCs, but most of them I would actually say each time I get reignited with this is cool, but nothing really comes close to No Step Back in my opinion.
So why does Hoi 4 succeed? 10 years later, why is it still growing? Why do thousands of players still come back? I think you could interview thousands upon thousands of people on who play this game regularly, and every time you'd come back with different answers. The mods, the DLCs, the YouTubers. There's so much around this game that brings people in, and it all just works together. There are communities within communities for Hoi 4. People that play certain mods, people that only watch videos on Hoi 4 but have never played it. There are people like me that have been playing and making videos on the game now for 10 years, and I'm not the only one. There are new content creators every single day doing something new and unique in place of me. And all of this just keeps adding up to the game staying alive and growing stronger and stronger. Hoi 4 will always have a special place in my heart, and the game I could never see myself not realistically playing. And to this day, I always get new ideas, new ways to play, and I find myself having just as much fun, if not more, than when I started playing. And just saying it out loud and realizing it's crazy to me that this game that I started playing 10 years ago is still holding my interest. It's always fun to meme and joke about how I hate this game, how I despise this game, but I don't. I really don't. And I think any game that can make you feel such strong emotions about it is definitely one worth keeping about. Although I will note, I am never doing those Ethiopian achievements, so no thanks, Paradox, keep those to yourself. But that's just my opinion on why I think the game still succeeds to this day. There are so many other opinions on why it's both failing, succeeding, going nowhere, going somewhere at the same time, that there's just too much to hear. Why do you think Hoi 4 succeeded?
Hoi 4 has a great advantage in its setting. I'd say World War II is one of, if not the most talked about historical events, at least in these times.
They made it simpler than Hearts of Iron 3. Hearts of Iron 3 was an immensely complex game with how you controlled the military. Hoi 4 made it simpler, and they made it's still funner, it's still World War II. Which brings me on to another topic. World War II is genuinely a very, very popular topic.
Number one, like I said earlier, if you compare, many people don't know Hearts of Iron 3, but if you compare Hearts of Iron 3 and Hearts of Iron 4, it's worlds. It's a different world. Hearts of Iron 3, soulless spreadsheet simulator, whereas Hearts of Iron 4 became soulful again. Again, like I said, the map is beautiful. It's more, it sounds weird, but easier to learn than Hearts of Iron 3, makes more sense.
Then there are all the alternative history settings too that players can make. People just love to imagine, like, what if something else happened? So being able to actually play that out is such an attractive concept to players that just doesn't exist in any other game out there.
Then a third point would be that content creators, on top of this, I would argue, this ego tripping a little bit and glazing both of us, I guess, content creation, I would say, stepped up on Hoi 4, at least for Paradox videos. It was like editing actually started, like actual edited videos instead of Let's Plays. Nothing wrong with Let's Plays, but it's just like we've moved into an area where people wanted like shorter videos than just, or where it's more condensed content, and that I would argue that also helped Hearts of Iron 4 pop off.
We're going away from this crazy deep learning curve back in the day, and they make stuff a bit more approachable for for normies, for old men like me that don't want to learn much anymore. And I think that these two things brought the grand success of Hearts of Iron 4. And yeah, once again, also the fact that for some reason there's a big group of gamers out there that is very weird when it comes to World War II strategy games.
And lastly, to close on out on this video for 10 years of Hearts of Iron 4, where to now? Where does Hoi 4 and the community around it go from here? I think Hoi 4 is definitely in the end stage of its development. The game's almost completely filled out in terms of content you can add into it, and sure, they are redoing a few of the older nations that are major powers that still really need it. It's just a lick of paint to make them a bit more enjoyable for the modern day Hoi 4. But where does it go past there? I mean, are they going to give a Yemen focus tree? Are people going to stick around and want a Yemen focus tree DLC? I'm going to say probably not. I just can't see people forgetting about this game, especially when Hoi 5 inevitably comes about. I think people are still going to be playing this game not only just for the base game version of itself, but mostly, again, for the mods. For the people that have watched on YouTube for thousands of hours, this game will still receive so much love for time to come. I mean, a good example is on this channel, I played so much Victoria 2. I think it almost probably birthed Victoria 3. I do think, though, if Hoi 5 does come out, it has a lot to live up to. It really needs to knock it out the park to really carry over Hoi 4's legacy. Whether or not it will is going to be a question for time. If a game that was released like Hoi 4 did can become what it did today, I think the lesson should be there for Hoi 5 to know what it needs to be to become not only on Hoi 4's level, but surpass it in every which way possible. You know, I'd love to say as well that I'd be here 10 years from now and be able to make a video being like, returning to Hoi 4 in 2036. I can already see the title, and I might actually just go make that video now, get it ready for upload. But potentially, maybe I don't even have to make that video. Maybe Hoi 4 will still live on its own, and I'll still be playing it in 2036. I don't know, but I like to think that if I'm playing Victoria 2 to this day, that maybe I probably will. But truly, who knows what the future will bring out looking back over these last 10 years. I'm just so grateful of what Hoi 4 has been able to give me in terms of being able to make YouTube videos and having it be my full-time job, but also just the personal enjoyment I have played over the years of this game. And I'm just grateful, completely grateful for everything Hoi 4 has led for me be able to do in my own personal life, from obviously being able to do this as my full-time job, but also just so grateful that this could be my job. I get to play my favorite game in the world as my job, and I am so grateful for that. And for that, I need to say thank you to obviously all the people I've managed to meet through Hoi 4, all the business deals that have gone on, all of my friends that I've managed to meet from playing this game, and obviously a huge thank you to everyone that has sat through and watched a single one of my videos. A shout out to every single mod that has ever been developed that I have given a go to on the channel and has entertained me in my own personal time just playing through. Heck, I was literally just playing Kaiserreich before this video for the fun of it. And a huge shout out to every other peer that I have that is out here making YouTube videos, from the old to the new. Hoi 4 videos and YouTube have gone beyond what I ever thought it would be, from back in the day when there were just a very few of us making these videos. And honestly, whilst this video might come off as a love letter to Hoi 4, I don't think it is. I think it's partially a love letter to Hoi 4, but also more importantly, a love letter to the community around it, the people that have kept this game going, in my opinion. And here's to you and the future you have. Not just Hoi 4, your future. I hope it's a good one because you deserve it. And that's that. That's all I have to say. Here's to the future of Hearts of Iron 4 and the people around it. I hope you all have one hell of a good one, and we'll see where we are in 10 years from now.